truck driver in Oregon crashed his truck, spilling 11,000 salmon across the highway. Now, he has a defense for his DUI. He's saying that he didn't hit the bottle hard right before getting behind the wheel. He claims that he has something known as auto-brewery syndrome.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Where his body naturally produces alcohol. Okay.
I'm sure.
So look, that's his defense. I'm obviously not buying that defense, but does that condition actually exist? It does.
Yeah.
Fascinating. Okay, this is so interesting.
I think I've got auto-weed syndrome.
Doubt it. Then you'd be sleeping all the time.
Right.
You have the opposite of that.
Well, I do eat all the time. So
true.
Maybe I do have it.
True.
So that's amazing that it has it. So
yes.
Okay, well, go ahead and explain what it is, because I'm so curious about it.
So auto-brewery syndrome is when you have an excess amount of yeast in your digestive system, okay? And what ends up happening is if you eat starchy foods, anything that's high in carbohydrates, what happens is that food then gets converted into ethanol. It gets broken down by that yeast and it turns into ethanol, which makes you drunk. So NPR had this really interesting piece on it where they were monitoring a man who claimed that he had this condition. They were watching him. His wife thought that he was a drunk behind the scenes. And he's like, no, you don't understand. I'm not drinking. I'm just naturally getting drunk. NPR monitored him. They noticed that he's not drinking anything, but his blood alcohol level would randomly spike right after he would eat carby foods. Right. I know carby's not a word. You know what I mean. They found that he had that excess yeast in his digestive system. But here's what I'm wondering. So if you take too many antibiotics, you kill the good bacteria in your stomach, right? When you do that, you tend to have issues with yeast, right? Like overgrowth of yeast. The good bacteria is what keeps that yeast in check. I'm wondering if this is a result from taking too many antibiotics. That's just my speculation, but I think this is so fascinating.
Well, it is interesting. So now, don't get me wrong, the reason we're skeptical about the salmon dude is because once you find out about this, anyone who's seen NPR or heard the NPR piece, now you've seen this piece, every time anybody's in an accident, auto-brewery syndrome, no, that's, man, it's the yeast, dude. The yeast made me do it. I ain't got nothing to do with it. Ethanol, the whole thing. Okay, but Anna, the important question is, if that happens to you, yeah, I get it, that's super unfortunate, or maybe fortunate. You're like, oh,
no,
what can I do?
Sounds
I'm drunk
terrible.
all the time. Okay.
Sounds horrible.
Okay, no, I hear you. But then, do they have the symptoms of being drunk?
Yes.
Well, if they do, then he shouldn't have been driving anyway.
Yeah, so you do get intoxicated. And so if you know you have this condition, prosecutors can make the claim that you shouldn't be behind the wheel anyway, right?
I mean, this guy had a 0.29 blood alcohol level. That's over 3 times the legal limit.
Yeah.
So whether that was created by carbohydrates in his case, if he's telling the truth, or beer, it doesn't really matter that much. You still shouldn't be driving that drunk.
Right.
Then I feel bad for you that you have that condition, and your avenues for employment are going to be very limited.
Yeah.
But I can't have you driving 11,000 salmon around on a truck, because you're going to create a plague where the salmon flies on people like frogs.
Oh my God, 11,000 salmon. I think that this is so interesting. The human body does amazing things. And the fact that having too much yeast in your digestive system could lead to you being drunk is amazing.
Yeah, and sometimes I do feel like I have a brewery in my stomach. Okay, so I've done your drug, man. I feel your pain.